Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a story weaving together Crusader Knights, the grandeur of Tsarist Russia, a really top-secret mission, and the uncharted frozen lands of Antarctica.
Sounds like a novel, right?
Exactly. But it's actually rooted in the documented history of a really ancient order. Today, we're diving into sources, official attestations, and historical summaries directly from the Order's World Confederation.
Yeah, we're looking at the Sovereign Order of St. John of Jerusalem and its, let's say, very unexpected offshoot, the Knights of Ice.
It gives us this unique lens into almost a millennium of history.
Absolutely. And the mission here really is to figure out how this ancient chivalric order managed to adapt, survive, and even, play a role in geographical discovery. It's quite something.
How they kept that sovereignty going for so long.
Exactly. We're looking at how these documents challenge and expand our understanding of, well, historical continuity and sovereignty. It's a lineage stretching over 900 years.
From the Holy Land right to the modern day.
We'll be connecting dots you might never have expected.
Okay, let's rewind. Like way back, over 900 years, to the very beginning in the Holy Land.
Right, the origins of the Order of St. John of Jerusalem. It starts around 1020, maybe 1025.
With sailors?
Amalfitane navigators, yeah. They got permission from the Caliph, Dahar al-Adamela, to set up a hospital in Jerusalem.
So like a hospital?
Essentially, yes.
Yep.
A hospital and a shelter, mostly for pilgrims and the sick. You have to remember, journeys back then were incredibly dangerous.
Robbery, violence.
Precisely. So this place became a vital house of welcome, but initially just focused on care.
Just care.
Yeah.
But things changed.
Big time. By 1099, during the First Crusade, the situation got much more dangerous. Attacks on pilgrims were common.
So they had to defend themselves.
You did. They were basically forced to protect the pilgrims and themselves. This is how they evolved into monks in arms.
Monk warriors.
Yeah.
That's quite a shift.
It is. Learning to use weapons, but specifically to safeguard the weak, the poor, the afflicted. The first Grand Master, Fra Gerardo Sasso, though there's a bit of historical debate on his exact name, led these early monk warriors.
So they're monks, they're fighters. But then comes this huge moment. The Papal Bull in 1113. Pi Postulatio Voluntatis.
Ah, yes. That was foundational. Absolutely pivotal.
What made it so revolutionary? How could a pope just grant sovereignty to a group like that? They weren't a kingdom.
Well, that's the crux of it. Pope Pascal II, on February 15, 1113, declared the Hospitallers of St. John of Jerusalem sovereign and independent.
Independent from everyone.
From all other civil and ecclesiastical authorities. Think about what that means.
Wow.
They could operate across borders, no allegiance to local kings or bishops, set their own rules, govern themselves. This unique status, it's what allowed them to become a major military and naval power later on.
And move around.
Exactly. It gave them resilience.
Wow.
When Jerusalem fell in 1291, they moved to Cyprus. Then, famously, to Rhodes.
Where they stayed for ages, right?
214 years. A very long time. They only left Rhodes on January 2, 1523. That early sovereignty grant made all that possible.
Okay, so after Rhodes, they eventually land on Malta in 1530. And that's when most people know them as the Knights of Malta.
Right. With the famous 8-pointed white cross, they were a huge presence in the Mediterranean for centuries.
Until Napoleon shows up.
Yes. June 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte arrives. And the Grand Master at the time, Ferdinand von Humpisch zu Bolheim, he makes a decision.
Not to fight.
Not to fight fellow Christians. So the Knights were expelled from Malta without a battle.
Which must have been hugely controversial.
Oh, absolutely. But here's where it gets really interesting, as you said earlier. This expulsion didn't end them. It actually sent the order down two very different and frankly quite intriguing paths.
Two paths. Okay, tell me about that.
Well, immediately after leaving Malta, the order split. A smaller group went to Italy seeking refuge there.
That makes sense.
But a much larger group, something like 400 knights and dignitaries, they went somewhere else entirely. St. Petersburg, Russia. They placed themselves under the protection of Tsar Paul I.
Russia. Why Russia?
It seems Tsar Paul had an interest in the order, perhaps saw an opportunity. And the knights needed a powerful protector. Events moved fast there.
How so?
The knights held a synod, basically a big meeting with their Russian, German, and Polish branches or priories. They formally declared the previous Grand Master, Humpisch, deposed.
So they kicked him out.
Effectively, yes. And then, on November 13, 1798, they proclaimed Tsar Paul I as the 70th Grand Master of the Sovereign Order of St. John of Jerusalem.
The Tsar of Russia became the Grand Master of a Catholic chivalric order.
Astonishingly, yes. And even more astonishingly, Pope Pius VI actually gave his blessing.
Why would the Pope agree to that?
Well, Napoleon was rampaging through Europe. The Pope was deeply worried about his power. Maybe he saw the Tsar as a potential counterweight, or maybe just the lesser of two evil.
Politics makes strange bedfellows, I guess.
Definitely. And the Tsar solidified the order's place in Russia by creating hereditary commanderies, basically. Certain noble families could pass down leadership roles within the order. It became quite integrated.
But then, another twist. Tsar Paul I is assassinated in 1801.
Right, a major shock. His son, Alexander I, takes the throne, and he's deeply affected by his father's murder. Understandably, he wants better security.
An elite protection detail.
Exactly, very secret. And who does he entrust this task to? Prince Fabian Gottlieb.
Who was?
A naval officer, a trusted friend from their academy days, and importantly, already a knight of the order's Grand Priory in Russia.
Ah, so already connected.
Deeply connected. And from this top-secret assignment, this personal security detail for the Tsar, the first colonel of a new, very distinct branch of the order was born.
Which is?
The Knights of Ice.
Knights of Ice. Okay, that name definitely needs explaining. Why ice?
Good question. The sources point to something extraordinary Prince Fabian Gottlieb did around this time. He led a major expedition.
An expedition. Where?
South. He was searching for the mythical Terra Australis Incognita, that unknown southern land on old maps. And, as a definite historical fact, during this voyage, he discovered Antarctica.
Wait, Prince Fabian Gottlieb discovered Antarctica.
That's what the historical record shows, yes. A major moment in exploration history.
Okay, my mind is slightly blown here, but how does that connect to the order?
This is the incredible part. Tsar Alexander I, as a gesture of gratitude for this discovery and perhaps for Gottlieb's loyalty, he didn't claim Antarctica for Russia.
He didn't. What did he do?
He secretly donated the newly discovered territories to Prince Gottlieb's new order, the Knights of Ice.
He gave them Antarctica.
Secretly.
That's the claim in these sources. A secret order granted sovereignty over a newly discovered continent.
That sounds almost unbelievable. Like something from a fantasy novel. What are the implications, even in secret?
The implications are huge, even if kept quiet. It essentially created a sovereign entity, recognized by the Tsar at least, with actual territorial claims.
In the most remote place on Earth. Exactly. Shrouded in absolute secrecy, just as Alexander wanted. This wasn't just symbolic. It gave this Knights of Ice branch a physical, albeit hidden domain, far from Europe's chaos.
Wow. Okay, so Prince Fabian Gottlieb now has this secret order with a secret claim on Antarctica. What next? He formalizes it.
Yes, between 1823 and 1824, he transforms the Knights of Ice into a fully sovereign structure, though still totally secret, just as the Tsar wished.
And then the Tsar dies.
Alexander I officially dies in 1825, and that marks the order's full autonomy. They continued, quote, in silence and fidelity, linked spiritually to the Tsars, but independent.
And the leadership stayed in the family. House Gottlieb.
Correct. It passed down through the generations within House Gottlieb, even after Prince Fabian Gottlieb himself passed away. They operated in the shadows.
And they survived the Russian Revolution
Yeah.
in 1917.
Remarkably, yes. The sources say they survived the revolution and the subsequent exile, maintaining their mission among loyal nobles, writers, officers, exiles scattered around the world.
How? How does such a secret group maintain itself through all that chaos?
That speaks volumes about their dedication, their internal structure, maybe the power of that initial grant of sovereignty, even if hidden. It suggests incredible resilience.
So the secret history was kept alive mostly through oral tradition.
Primarily, yes. Until the early 1980s, that's when a key meeting happens.
Tell me.
Cesare Sebastiano Francesco Giuseppe Fusone, pronounced Fusone, who attested to these sources. He met Prince Hans Gottlieb in Lugano, Switzerland.
A descendant.
A direct descendant of Prince Fabian Gottlieb and the 41st Grand Master of this secret order.
Okay, so the connection is made.
Yes, and this eventually leads to a major handover in the early 2000s. Prince Hans Gottlieb transferred the command and, crucially, the Antarctic possession.
The claim to Antarctica.
Yes, to his kinsman, Giovanni Caparasso Gottlieb. He becomes the 42nd Grand Master.
And he changes things.
He does. Giovanni Caparasso Gottlieb starts a period of internal renewal. And the biggest change, he removed the condition of perpetual secrecy.
Wow. After centuries.
After centuries. while still honoring the history, of course. But he brought them out of the shadows.
How did they signal that?
Well, one very public action was filing an official complaint with the United Nations in 2007.
With the UN? About what?
Asserting their historical rights, likely linked to the Antarctic claim. They did it through an affidavit from the Supreme Court of New York State. A very bold public move for an organization that had been secret for so long.
Definitely sends a message. And the story keeps going.
It does. In 2009, César Fusson, the attester we mentioned, was elevated to Grand Master of a connected branch. Then, a really significant event in 2012 in Rhodes, Greece, symbolically important.
Okay, no, no.
Yes. The delegate of the Sovereign Order of the Knights of Antarctic Land, that's the new name for the Knights of Ice.
Knights of Antarctic Land, okay.
They signed an act of chivalric communion with 7 other related orders or branches, and this act restored the ancient overarching name, Sovereign Order of St. John of Jerusalem World Confederation, encompassing the Knights of Cyprus, Rhodes, Malta, and St. Petersburg.
So bringing all the threads back together publicly.
Exactly, a consolidation after centuries of divergence and secrecy.
It really makes you wonder, though, how do they maintain this claim of sovereignty today without a country, without Malta, especially after being hidden for so long?
That's a key question the sources address. They point to multiple legal and historical foundations arguing for continuous sovereignty.
Like what?
Well, obviously the original 1113 Papal Bull is number one, but then there's recognition by the Civil Tribunal of St. Petersburg in 1899, that's post-Tsar Paul, confirming their status in Russia.
Okay.
Recognition by the Italian judiciary in 1955, even Cardinal Tribunal sentences from the Vatican in 1953, affirming their legitimacy within the church structure.
So legal recognition scattered through time and places.
And don't forget the historical status of their Grand Masters as Reich's first Prince of the Holy Roman Empire since 1607. That carried real diplomatic weight back then.
The Prince of the Empire.
Plus, more recently, that New York State Department of State registration in 2012 we mentioned, they argue it's a continuous legal reality, not just ancient history.
The sources seem to emphasize a principle here, right? That sovereignty, once granted, doesn't just disappear if you lose territory.
Precisely. That's a fascinating point they make, supported by principles of international law and even hinted at in things like the Treaty of Amiens in 1802. Sovereignty as an inherent quality, perhaps, not just tied to land.
It's like a title that persists. So, okay, they have this long military history, centuries of secrecy, they've reemerged, consolidated. What's their mission now? What does the Sovereign Order of St. John of Jerusalem World Confederation actually do today?
Well, they've definitively abandoned military aims, that's clear.
No more monk warriors.
No. Their declared mission now is to return to their original ancient vocation, welfare. Humanitarian work.
Back to the roots in Jerusalem, almost.
In a way, yes. They state their goal is to confront modern challenges, fighting disease, misery, ignorance, what they call the lack of values, moral disorder.
So applying those old chivalric principles to today's problems.
That seems to be the idea, taking those centuries-old ideals of charity and defending the vulnerable and finding a contemporary, peaceful, selfless way to enact them. They talk about achieving spiritual sovereignty.
Spiritual sovereignty instead of land or military power.
Exactly. Redefining their purpose for the 21st century, focusing on humanitarian action grounded in their very long history.
What an incredible deep dive. Seriously. From the Crusades, through Imperial Russia's secrets, the documented discovery of Antarctica, and now this modern reemergence focused on global challenges.
It really is an extraordinary story. The Sovereign Order of St. John of Jerusalem, the Knights of Ice, Knights of Antarctic Land, whatever name you use at different points, it's a remarkable testament to how ideas and organizations can endure and transform.
The surprising paths history can take.
Definitely. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? In our age, drowning in information, what can we learn from an order that kept a continent secret for centuries and now seeks the spiritual sovereignty in a world obsessed with data, borders, and, well, shifting values? It makes you ask, what does true enduring sovereignty even look like if it's not about land or armies?
What if it's about commitment to a purpose, an ancient legacy?
Maybe. That's a compelling thought to ponder.
It certainly is. A question worth thinking about long after this deep dive ends. Until next time, stay curious.